that are, 6'5" and change, 320 pounds. And the size is so important. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's college. It doesn't matter if it's the NFL. It's a big man's game. There's no doubt about it. First of all, you can control the line of scrimmage. Second of all, they're more durable because, they're all going to have aches and pains here and there. If you're 285 to 290 compared to 320 and 325, the bigger guy is going to last longer. It's proven out many, many, many years.
Well, exactly. And then that's the thing about college football, of course, is that if you're playing in one conference, like the Pac-12 with Oregon, but you have aspirations of playing in the playoffs or competing for a national championship, yep, you're eventually going to have to play those big boys in the SEC or the ACC or Big Ten or whatever the case might be. And that's the thing, is that's one of the things I've been impressed by with Mario Cristobal, of course, the Oregon's head coach, who previously was at Alabama and was an offensive lineman himself way back in the day, is just that it's a realization that, look, we may not be able to kind of be as good as quickly as we'd like against some of the other very fast teams in the Pac-12. But as we get better, then we will be able to compete in the Pac-12 the way Stanford has done for so long, running the ball down people's throats, and then also be able to compete when we get to those bowl games. And that's really where you start making your hay. And I anticipated that Oregon would be able to make some improvements. I just didn't think it would happen this quickly in the way they're doing it. There was so much talk about Justin Herbert, and again, we're going to get to him a little bit later in the program, but just again, the focusing on the offensive line and running the football, and the way they were able to control the clock against Washington this last week was one of the real testaments to the way Cristobal is trying to turn around that program.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, of course, you need the athletes, you need the players, but it's also a mindset. Yep. It's definitely a mindset. I mean, you go back, like you talk about Stanford, the last 10 to 15 years or whatever, 12 years. Look at Wisconsin. How long have they done it? It's all mindset. It's about up front, kick and tail. We're gonna win the game because of us. We're gonna get off the line of scrimmage. It's not the finesse, hand pat type stuff. No, it's try blocking. It's putting face on face and getting movement. And so all of a sudden now it's 2nd and 5 or 2nd and 3 instead of 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 7. Because you got movement up front. Yep. Now it opens your whole offense up. You can do play action, gives your quarterback more options, it gives him more, defense doesn't know what to do. Do we blitz? Do we sit back? Are they going to throw it? Are they going to run it? And that changes games. And the more often you can do that, the more often you're going to be successful.
Well, exactly. And that's the thing, is you have to pick out the right leader of your program, and you have to go with that philosophy and really build to it. And I mention that because I think it's a good segue to, unfortunately, a leader in the NFL passed away this week, Scott. You know him well. Paul Allen, of course, the owner of the Seattle Seahawks in the NFL, but also the Portland Trailblazers in the NBA, and he also has just been so big in the greater Seattle area, in the community where I am a part of. And the fact, unfortunately, people pass away all the time, and sometimes when they're celebrities, then they end up getting kind of revered on social media and things like that. And frankly, I don't know that always if they deserve that, but with Paul Allen and just the impact that he had in this entire community, besides just football, it really is a loss for the Seahawks, certainly, and then just for the greater Seattle area. And I know that you had worked under him during your time in the Seahawks, and I don't know about any of your personal experiences with Paul Allen, but if you had any thoughts on his passing, on his legacy, or any of the relationships, maybe even that you've had with some other owners that you've worked with in the past, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of say anything that you wanted to as far as the passing of Paul Allen.
Well, the thing with Paul, I was around him every game day, okay. And I sat in the suite, him, John Schneider, myself, and his people he'd bring with him. We sat together. Really, really quality person. Really quality. Very, very quiet. Very, very reserved. I could tell you stories about my first time I was in Seattle. they had to bring hamburgers in and a popcorn machine for draft day because he loved cheeseburgers and he loved popcorn. he'd spill popcorn everywhere. And the one story was one of the assistants, Mike Holmgren's, right-hand guy that did all the stuff for him, sent him to was it Master Burger or Burger Master?
Okay, Burger Master.
Yeah. So my buddy went down there and got hamburgers for him or cheeseburgers for him, and he never got paid for it. He had to pay himself. Yep. But the thing about it was cool. I know, because like you talk about Portland Trail Blazers, they changed their courts, so he had the old court put in his house in Seattle, and he'd invite employees over.
Wow. And
they could play every Tuesday night.
Wow.
And they loved it. They loved it. But yeah, no, great guy. Very, very quiet, very reserved. Didn't know a lot about football, but knew enough about football. But he would just sit back there on the back row in the suite and have his computer open and on it, because I'm sure all the other stuff's going on with him. But then he just ask questions. Is holding still 10 yards? Yeah. But just quality guy. And it's sad, and like you said, people die every day and it's sad. But, a guy like him, how he was good to the community and how he kept the Seahawks in Seattle, because at that point, the team had already pretty much moved.
Yeah.
All the equipment was moved down to L.A. All the equipment guys were there. The players were getting in the hotels down there. And, and he said, it's staying here because I want to take care of the community. And that's very impressive.
No, it really is. I mean, because as you said, Scott, I mean, the team was basically moving. I mean, the former owner, Ken Behring, had agreed to sell the team down in California. And, as a Seattle guy, I watched that happen with the Supersonics, of course, in Seattle's former NBA team that moved to Oklahoma City. And, I, just speaking for myself, I love basketball, but I have not watched a single full NBA game since. And that's what I wonder about how he saved football in this city and just sports in general, because it helped inspire more passion about the Mariners. It helped inspire, at least for a little while, more passion about the Sonics. And then he also was such a big in the community as far as music, as far as all of the different, and of course Microsoft and his contributions to the technology world. And then you mentioned the story about him having the basketball court in his home. I mean, just the way he would invite his employees, his extended family essentially over. I mean, that's not something you hear about very often in today's ownership world. You have all these billionaire owners that maybe don't have an ability to kind of connect with players and things of that nature. I thought that Nate Burleson, former wide receiver, now NFL announcer and broadcaster, commentator, did a great job. And he just basically said that he was a billionaire who, treated people as if they were, worth I can't remember how exactly he said it, trillions. They treated him as if he was a trillionaire and he was a billionaire. And so it's like more just saying what a great person he was for all the things everybody's talked about, but he treated people even better than that. And so I just kind of, it's rare that we see that. And, and then I look at it from just the team perspective. Now this is a team that doesn't have an owner. And has to kind of possibly make a decision. Now, Paul Allen does have a sister, and she may wind up being the majority owner at this point. Who knows? But can you share anything? I mean, I don't know if you've ever been part of a team where there's been an ownership change or anything like that, where just to kind of speak to maybe just the questions of what's going through the mind of a general manager or a head coach or those equipment guys or a scout that's wondering, am I going to have a job? Is our team going to be in Seattle next year or whatever the case might be?
Yeah, you know what? I really haven't. I was in San Fran when it went from John York to Jed York. Mm-hmm. That was family to family, and it was, everybody knew it was coming, and Jed was really good about it. But yeah, anytime there's a change on the top, you have no idea what's going to happen. The thing about Seattle that's just really good is the fact that they've had stability, with Pete and John. And then, Pete's coaches, John's coach or scouts, So it's not like they're losing and a bad team. They're still one of the top teams, in my opinion, in the NFC.
Yeah.
But there's always that thought crosses your mind, especially if you're an area scout or if you're a director or whatever, consultant, senior personnel guy.
Yeah.
There's always something that could happen because you never know. Because if you get a new owner, he can do whatever he wants to do.
Yep.
But hopefully, whoever it is, if it's a sister, who I've met, and a good lady and all that, you just hope it stays status quo because you don't want to rock the boat too much.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that, I think that sometimes there are owners who basically believe that they know football better than the people that they've hired, who really know football. And I'm not going to say owners' names or whatever, but, sometimes I'll see them at the Senior Bowl. Sometimes I'll see them at the Combine. And it's very obvious who thinks that they know things, and sometimes they do. But at the same time, what's the point of hiring someone to do a job if you're just going to take away their opportunity to make decisions? And I've never really understood that, regardless whether it be football, baseball, basketball, whatever the case might be. And that was one of the reasons why I thought that Paul Allen and the teams that he's had have had success, is that he has allowed the people he's hired to do those jobs.
Well, he's been patient too. And nowadays the game's changed. I can talk about football. I don't know about basketball, baseball, and all that stuff. But from the standpoint of football, we got half the owners, or quite a few of the owners, don't understand football. It's like a luxury gift they have, and they just want to be happy that they have an NFL team.
Yeah.
The good ones. Look at the Rooneys. Look at them, the Merricks.
Yeah.
There's consistency, and that's so important because you're gonna have good years and bad years. I mean, it's inevitable.
Yeah. Especially
when you're there that many years. I mean, look at Cincinnati with Marvin. What has he been there? 18 years, 17, 18 years?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's consistency. Yeah. That's, listen, I understand, that sometimes we're not winning as much as we want to, and we're not, getting a playoff win, but still we're having success. And you're a quality person, and the good owners understand it, and they're the old school owners, because the new ones are business people from the outside coming in, And the one thing about Paul that was really cool was the fact that he wasn't a football guy. He was a basketball guy. He loved the Trailblazers. That was his thing. But he came in, he didn't rock the boat. He said, okay, if it fires people, we'll fire some people. Holmgren was there, and he walked, and then they one got Pete, and they got John. And, he just sat back. He wasn't hands-on, which sometimes is good, sometimes is bad, because you want to keep the owner involved, But even with Dan Snyder, when I was in Washington, he wasn't hands-on. We might talk once a week during the season. And in the off-season, especially after the draft, we wouldn't talk for a month. He said, just do your job. I'm paying you to do your job. I'm going to stay out of your way. Football. I know business. And he said, just go do it. But that's changed so much nowadays. And you see, owners think, well, we'll make a change here on the head coach. Sell more tickets, have more income, more property sales, type stuff. And it's not true. It doesn't work that way.
Interesting. All right. Well, I appreciate you mentioning that about Snyder. I just assumed that every time you guys went together, you were going to a Guns N' Roses concert or something. So,
we did that once.
All right. Well, that's the inspiration for the lead in the show, of course. So I had to make sure I mentioned that. And then actually, we're going to be joined here by the new Senior Bowl executive, Jim Nagy, who, of course, worked with Scott, in Seattle, and Jim has worked with lots of different clubs over the years, and so I'm kind of very curious to hear his thoughts on the passing of Paul Allen, as well as some of the prospects that he's been on the road with already, and kind of sees